what's up? This is Kent, owner and sculptor of VoidRealm Minis. Hey, I thought I'd do a quick video to show you guys how to properly use the pre-supported files that I offer as part of my Patreon. We're going to look at a pre-supported component of this model here. Nyarlathotep is the big bad kind of epic boss monster that I made for the month of March on my Patreon. It prints in lots of different parts, and all of them come pre-supported, which makes printing a lot easier. However, if you're really new to 3D printing, I would definitely recommend, one of the important things is that you get familiar with your machine and your 3D printer so that you know how to use these pre-supported parts properly. If we jump into Chitubox here, what I want to point out, and I've loaded one of the Chitubox files for the Crawling Chaos. This is the second half of his abdomen and the tail file. So this is like a typical file that you'd get from the Patreon, pre-supported files. And we, TJ in particular, did the pre-supports on these, and he did an awesome job. He really designed them so that not only will they hold the model well for printing, but that they will be easy to remove and leave very small marks, so that cleanup is also easy. That said, you know, everybody's machines are different, and not only are you printing on maybe a Frozen Sonic Mini, or a Mighty, or an Elegoo Mars, or a Saturn, or an Epax machine. They're all going to have slightly different settings. You're going to be using different resins. You might be in a different part of the country or a different room of the house where the temperature and humidity can vary. So it's important to understand that, you know, while in a lot of cases you can probably plop these in and hit and slice it up and hit go on your printer and you should be fine, it's really worth understanding how to use Chitubox at least at like an intermediate level, so that you can do a quick scan of these files, make sure they're appropriate for your machine, and then make modifications if you want to. This file will still save you a ton of time in having to add all these supports yourself. So it's really worth 5-10 minutes to do a bit of a due diligence check and to make sure the file fits your machine. That said, you know, I would not recommend printing a really complex file like this as one of your first prints on your machine. Part of developing familiarity with your machine is to try smaller parts from this month's set. The Strange Pharaoh or the Strange Pharaoh bust would be good parts to start with, so that you can get some successes, deal with smaller parts that are a bit simpler, and look at them and kind of understand what your machine can handle or not. So let's have a look at this file the way I would load it from my printer. I'm gonna open it up, and the first thing I'm gonna do is grab the layer scanner here and click and hold and go ahead and drag this down, and I'm going to slowly crawl it up and kind of watch how the part builds. In particular, you know, these first sections here, these initial islands and how they're supported. So we're just going to kind of do a quick scan, and you know, if I were doing this without making the video, I would take a little bit more time going up. But we'll have a quick look at how everything is building. Cool. And then, so what we might say, for example, is, and the bottom here on these first layers of this belly, we might say, you know, I think my printer, I need to check the size of those supports and maybe increase them or decrease them depending on what my printer can handle. So let's click on this tab here to go into the support edit mode, and I'm going to flip my view so that I go underneath and have a look at these right here. So looking at these, I'm going to hit E for edit, and this will switch to this edit support mode right here. And we can just click on these. Whoops. And sometimes it does that. You just need to center your cursor back in. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'll notice that the upper diameter is 0.3, and it looks like a lot of these supports down at the bottom are 0.3s. 0.3s are small, but still can be pretty sturdy. If you know your printer needs a bit more of an increased support, this is really easy. We can grab this one here, go over to the upper diameter and dial it up to whatever size we need. So if it was 0.3, we can click it up to 0.5. Maybe we want to grab a couple of these other ones that are right around the base here, and also up them to all 0.5. And 0.5. Sometimes if you grab multiples and they're different sizes, Chitubox won't adjust them all at the same time. But you can grab multiple supports by clicking, holding Control, and then click again and again. And if they're all the same size, you'll be able to increase or decrease the support size of all of them all at once, which is pretty useful. So there we go. And typically, if you want a little bit more of a guaranteed success with your machine, or if you think the peel forces on your machine are kind of strong, I would really recommend looking at these, especially these first, like this pretty big starting mass right here. And you know, it doesn't hurt to maybe take a couple of these and get them up. This one was a 0.2. We can take it up to 0.4, 0.5. Again, this is going to be underneath the model, so the mark or the blemish is not too important. We just want to still hopefully, you know, be able to take it off reasonably easily. But this, you know, is something that you could do on your machine if you're like, the 0.3s, I know if it's a lot of weight, sometimes the peel forces, or for whatever reason, might be too strong and cause a failure. So yeah, I hope I explained that reasonably clearly. If you guys haven't ever messed around in Chitubox before, definitely check out 3D Printing Pro's tutorials on YouTube. They're awesome, and they'll get you covered with all the basics and a little bit of theory as well about, you know, what you should be thinking about as you're building your own supports or modifying your own supports. But again, if I want to edit these, I'm just going to hit E on the keyboard or click right here to go into edit mode. Sorry, that's a little bit off the screen from my video, but it's just over here. And then when I grab these, you can grab the top, the middle, or the bottom. We'll grab the top and then check this upper diameter, lower diameter, and adjust the size as we need. That said, there could be instances where some of the files maybe have a really heavy support, and you know your machine doesn't need something that heavy to grab onto. So, you know, if this was like a 0.8 here because for whatever reason we really want to make sure it prints, or maybe you're dealing with a different pre-supported file from another company or another Patreon that has really robust supports, and you know your machine can handle them, you can always scale them back down to what will work for you. So I think that covers about everything for this video. If you guys want, I'd be happy to make another one and kind of go over the basics of the software from my own perspective and kind of what I've learned and how I typically approach supporting a model. But hopefully that'll help. Again, always a good idea to just glance at the pre-supported files. This process that I did here took 5-10 minutes. If I had supported the whole thing on my own, it would have probably taken me about an hour or so. So I'm still saving a ton of time, and it's really worth the check so that you save yourself headaches at your machine. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Just ask. Leave a comment below or send me a message on Patreon. I try to be around and available to answer any questions you guys have. I hope you enjoy the models, and we will see you next time whenever I get around to doing another video.